Good evening. Welcome to the Independence City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, the 26th of January, 2021. Taking off my mask because there is no one in the council chamber. I'm here all by myself, so I can do that. And I'll put it on if anybody does enter the chamber a little bit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Let the record show that all councilors are here and the power is on. And we're happy that everybody's power is back on. And it's a beautiful snowy night as long as you don't have to go anywhere. Council members, you have the minutes of the January 12th meeting in front of you. Do they meet with your approval?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
I have a motion, second discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Let's move on to some public comment. This evening we have a presentation on technical assistance grant activities through the Indy Hub from Kate Schwartzler, and she's also going to talk a little bit about the Independence Downtown Association. So I'm assuming Schwartzler is, there she is, she's joining us virtually. Good evening and welcome to the council meeting.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. Yes, thank you. I wanted to give a couple of quick updates. I'm going to start with the Independence Downtown Association. So I am the president of the Downtown Association, and the city has been very supportive of the Downtown Association, and we've developed a very nice collaborative working relationship. So I do like to keep the city and the council informed of our activities. And we just elected our new board members for this coming year, and we are finalizing our final report, which we will be putting out on our website, downtownindependence.com, and are happy to send that out to anybody who would like to request a copy of that, as well as we're doing our year-end financial planning and getting ready for next year. So was just going to spend a couple minutes giving some quick highlights of the year. And again, really appreciate the working relationship that we have with the city. We work closely with Courtney Williams, the downtown manager, coordinating events, supporting each other on events, and it's worked out really well, as obviously we get a lot of support from the Public Works Department with our events when we have our more traditional standard events during non-COVID years. So obviously COVID was a big impact to our small business owners this year. And IDA tried to pivot as much as possible to really support them. Took away some of our momentum. Obviously, our board members are largely made up of small business owners, and so it was very distracting to have to also then kind of work with their, take care of the businesses as well as keep an eye on IDA and how much we could help. Typically, we do a lot with events, in-person events, the Ghost Walk, which Marilyn Morton is a huge partner in, and also like the Hop and Heritage. So we had to pivot a lot of our events to online, which some had a little bit more success than others with that. But we managed to provide some of that. Hop and Heritage, we did an online kind of to-go package for those events. And we also did a fun holiday event, Gnome on the Roam. And we got a lot of positive feedback from people that they appreciated that people were trying to still provide some activities. And I know there was also a lot of great response to a lot of the city's events to also try to provide some sort of alternative for people to get out and about in the community. I'd say one of our bigger successes this year was being able to just pivot our communication and play a role in helping to get the communication out to small business owners about potential grants and other funding opportunities that would allow them to kind of help sustain themselves through COVID. So we're happy to be able to play a role with that. And then also just raise community awareness about shopping local and the importance of supporting our local business owners and keeping the dollars local wherever possible. We were able to take advantage of some grant money. Some of it was to fund specific events such as Gnome on the Roam and helping to pivot some things. So that allowed us to kind of stay in a good position. And then also just grant funding to help us with our operational costs. Because of COVID, we didn't feel as comfortable going out to ask our supporters who are frankly, mostly small business owners to donate at a time when it was very difficult for people to swing that. So the grant funding has allowed us to kind of sustain our operations and put us in a good position for next year. And there are hopes of things improving. There's some optimism out there, and actually the hearts are going to go up soon. We're placing the order for those, so that'll be a nice kind of boost of cheer downtown, as well as then also the flower baskets have already been ordered. So we are continuing, to do what we can do to support our downtown and really encourage people with that. So stay tuned for more information and events as we try to pivot that. We do post our information on downtownindependence.com. And again, please contact me if you have any questions. I'm always happy to talk to people about resources that we might be able to provide for our small business owners. So I'm going to pause there really quickly, see if anybody has any specific questions regarding the Downtown Association.
Any questions regarding the Downtown Association at this point?
Yes, just one. Kate, was there a meeting this month or not?
There was not. We actually took the month of January off in terms of our general meeting, and that was largely just response we had from our business owners of needing a bit of a Zoom break, and just the holidays were a little bit stressful for people. And I think there's some burnout going on, frankly. And so we said, you know what, we'll take January off and then focus again on February, getting the general meetings back up and running. So.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that there were a couple of us that were downtown waiting because we didn't get any kind of word about that.
Okay, no, thanks for that
Okay.
feedback. And
You're-
actually right now, all of our meetings are virtual. We're not having any in-person meetings because of COVID. So we do try to get the word out about that and provide people the Zoom links. So we'll try to do a better job, obviously, of getting the word out about that.
Kate, can you remind us when the meetings are normally scheduled?
They are, you're going to laugh at me because I should have this dialed in and memorized. They are either the second or the third Thursday of the month. They are the second Thursday of the month at 8 a.m.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we do post a lot of things on Facebook, but we are trying to also do more engagement with email. Not everybody's on Facebook, email, and then also our website for getting the word out to people. So if no more questions, I would like to switch gears and talk about a project that we just wrapped up that we're very excited about and got a lot of positive response to it. So a couple years ago, we started up a nonprofit called Indie Idea Hub. And I think a lot of people don't know about the nonprofit that we have because we've been a little bit under the radar screen and being kind of quiet. It was started as a sort of outgoing of some work that we did, a partnership between Indie Commons and the city with the Rural Opportunity Initiative grant funding. And through that work, we discovered that, you know what, it would be really helpful to have a nonprofit that was really focused on building entrepreneurship support and providing programming for our local business owners. And so we started that and have just been kind of slowly building out some resources and other things. And an opportunity came along using the CARES Act funding for us to step in and be able to provide a role for our local business owners. So the City of Independence and also the City of Monmouth provided funding towards this with the goal of really understanding what is it that our businesses can use right now with the impacts of COVID. How can we best help them? And we've traditionally been in a role of providing classes and providing some opportunities for people to dial into some certain resources. But when talking with our business owners, they said, look, we're really stressed out. We're really scared about the future and about our business even being able to make it through it. We're stretched incredibly thin. Most of our small business owners are sole proprietors or maybe a partnership. So they don't have the technical know-how, they don't have the capacity. And now with COVID, they also don't have the money to do some of the things that they know would benefit them. And so that was things like, yes, I should have an online portal for ordering. I don't know how to do that. And I don't have the money to go hire somebody. I really need to figure out social media. But again, not really sure how to do that. So we came up with a solution to them using CARES Act funding, and again, contributed by both the City of Independence and the City of Monmouth to work on developing a way to get them one-on-one technical support. And so instead of saying, take a 6-hour class, and then hopefully you'll learn how to post your own social media, we said, we're gonna fast track that. We will have somebody provide social media for you, teach you how to do it so you can continue doing it. Same thing with like a website, photography, client management system. And we had to work within the bounds of the CARES Act funding, which needed to be spent by the year end. So difficult to meet that time frame, right? And to be able to define a project that was going to advance the ball for these businesses and provide a solution to COVID impacts specifically while meeting these timeframes. What we did was we hired people, local people, thankfully, to work one-on-one with these businesses. And we did a 1-hour intake with each business that applied to really help them assess what can we provide you that's really going to help you move the needle and really going to help you sustain your business. So sometimes people came in thinking, you know what, I need social media help. And we said, actually, in talking with you, we think a website would be a better choice for you, and here's the reasons. And so we were able to guide them, and then we were also able to connect them with some larger resources, whether that was something that the SBDC might be able to do, and also with a lot of the county grants that were happening at that same time. So it really helped do a benefit, a two-sided benefit. We hired local people, local consultants to help other local businesses, and we've already seen some of those relationships continued, which is really exciting to see. I know Karen was going to try to send out a handout to the City Council. I hope you got it. I'm just going over some of the highlights of it. On page 2 of it, you can see that we helped 30 businesses with this funding, 20 in Independence and 10 in Monmouth. Altogether, we had about $70,000 of funding to work with. Again, City of Independence contributed $45,000 to that. And we tried to break it down so that it was equitable. So the amount of funding that Independence put in, we made sure kind of that proportionally went to help Independence businesses. All told, we did 31 projects, which is pretty exciting. So some of the smaller projects we were able to kind of double up on, but everybody was able to get something that really helped them. The breakdown is shown there. We had a lot of websites. I think we have an over-reliance, unfortunately, in this community on using Facebook as their website. And so we were able to really help them get their own standalone website that they can have control over and they can learn how to post things to. Client engagement strategy was also very popular, which makes sense. You're in a time of crisis, you need funding, you need revenue, you need to really find a way to engage with your clients and to make sure that you are communicating well with them. Social media, obviously a very popular one. And then one that was a little bit of a surprise was software packages. So we sat down and talked with, for example, a couple of our restaurant owners who maybe already had online ordering and other things. And they said, you know what, we want to try the texting programs. So we want to figure out a way that we can develop a texting database so that we can text people when their specials are happening, when their order is ready, that sort of thing. So we were able to work with people to kind of front some of the costs of that and then train them how to use that. So altogether, it was very successful in the projects that we were able to deliver to people. And then this represents about, the 30 businesses that we worked with represents approximately 95 jobs. I say this is an estimate because COVID obviously was very hard for people to predict what some of those numbers were. But in Independence, that was about 12 full-time employees, also counting the business owners themselves, and then 48 part-time employees. So a lot of our restaurants obviously use part-time help for things. So We have a couple of testimonials. I'd say one of the highlights was we were able to get Parallel 45 up and running on their website very quickly. It's something that they had planned to do, but just with everything else going on and getting the space up and running, they just kept pushing it onto the back burner. So when I checked in with Ryan and Greg the other day and said, hey, how's your website working? They were super excited. You know, they said, boy, in the first month we had 100 online orders. Worked out great. People could order online. They just swing by, pick up, you know, their growlers or cans, and we're even happy to run them out to people at the curb if needed. So I would say overall, we've really elevated the sense of comfort of our business owners and given them some tools that they can use beyond COVID to really get through this impact. We're certainly not through it. Hopefully we're on our way, but it's still going to be a very difficult start to the year, first quarter for sure, if not even, you know, it's predicted to be even longer than that. So we're happy to be able to provide this support for our local businesses, and we're looking for continued funding. There are some other grant sources out there currently that we're looking at based on the response that we've received from people in terms of being able to keep this program together. We think there's some real value to, even in non-COVID times, look at how we can provide this technical assistance project even once a year to help elevate everybody's understanding of the business environment here and how we can help position them to be successful.
Are there questions for our speaker this evening? I just want to weigh in, and I'll let you know I've had the opportunity to have some state legislators meet and hear about the technical assistance program, and also several congressional offices and our U.S. Senate folks, and they really like what they've seen because it's practical, it's straightforward, it helps people immediately. And the other thing is that it sets the stage for long-term success. The kinds of skills that are being learned and implemented are those that will last past COVID and help launch people in the recovery stage. So it's very impressive, and people from around the state are starting to call and ask, how did you guys do that? And we want to do that too. I was speaking with a couple of mayors who have heard about that. So congratulations on your success.
Thank you very much. Yeah, happy to help.
Great.
Can I just a quick question of clarification, because in there's a lot of we's, but I know in business, you know, sometimes I is we. So I guess can you explain to me the relationship, because I'm understanding that Indie Idea Hub is, I'm assuming, a private nonprofit that is not directly connected to the city, but does cooperative projects. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that would be a fair assessment, and thanks for that clarification, because it can be difficult to kind of understand the different players and moving parts and pieces. So like I said, starting a couple years ago, the city partnered with essentially Indie Commons in terms of being able to provide a place to host and support these entrepreneurship programs. And so through that work, we kind of identified this need. Boy, it would be great to have a nonprofit that was active in the area that really focused on entrepreneurship support, business support. While the city has done an amazing job getting grants and using that funding to do that, it's not always possible or feasible for the city to always be in the lead for that. And also it puts pressure on city staff to then have to run them. And so again, identified this need for having a standalone nonprofit. So we are a separate 501c3. It is housed in Indie Commons. It works very collaboratively, obviously, with kind of having that relationship with the programming and support that's already provided there for our small business owners and entrepreneurs. But it is a separate 501c3. We have a standalone board. We have 7 board members right now. And we are just entering into our 3rd year, actually, of being up and running.
Thanks for clarifying. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time to visit with us.
All right, thanks. Always nice to be here.
Thank you. We're going to go down to the, our next presenter today is, we're going to hear about the sidewalk program through Community Services Consortium and Willamette Workforce. Mona K. Hines, I think, is going to be the speaker to this. And there she's there. Good evening and welcome to City Council.
Thank you. I'll move that a little bit. We're getting our places, so I might be putting my mask back on, but thank you for letting us come in. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but I can
Perfect.
hear you fine. Thank you. Just continue forward.
All right. So I know that it's going to be more fun to watch our video, and it's going to be more fun to hear from the youth. Because it's Zoom, we narrowed it down. So I'm going to give you a short background of how we got to the sidewalk project. So I'd call it the boring stuff, and then we'll let you have the fun stuff after that. Does that sound like a plan? So one, I think most of you know who I am, but Community Services Consortium, just the short version, CSC, one of the big things we do is engage people back into their education that have dropped out in Polk County, and then help them with jobs and or getting to college. So that's the short version of, connecting with this. When I started here, I did community mapping, and one of the first people that I met with was Sean Irvine from the City of Independence, of course, and the county commissioners. And I'm pretty sure that Marilyn and Kathy and quite a few of you, I think Mayor McCardle, see, I can do that. Mayor McCardle were part of that. And interestingly, the sidewalk project was the one that everyone said, that's what you need to do. And the county commissioners were really supportive of that. And of course, the City of Independence. So with that, then what our jobs are after that community mapping, we continued working with partners, and Willamette Workforce Partnerships was one of the big ones. And then the county commissioners, both Commissioner Mordhorst and Commissioner Poper, are leaders on that. So they really helped drive this discussion. But Dean Craig, who was going to come on, but when we went Zoom, he said, Mona, you can go ahead and do that. But if you haven't really heard what Willamette Workforce Partnership or the Workforce Board does, I'm just gonna, would be one of the things that you may or may not know. If you pull up their website, the first thing it says is they're gonna invest in proven and innovative programs and partnerships that lead to a skilled workforce. So that's our main goal. And in Independence, and this would be one of those times I would brag on you, Independence, that you've always proven fruitful and forward thinking and willing to do this. So we really came back to Independence. So you were the first ones. It was the pilot project. And then my role, and of course my name's Mona, but was to partner everyone. So with that, then that's what I did. And there were many meetings and finding a contractor. So the point was to gather a city or something like a city, us that has workforce and youth, and then the workforce project. But in that, then the city made a commitment and brought both help from Public Works and money. The Willamette Workforce Partnership brought both leadership and money. It took a little bit of everything from everyone. And then my job, I contacted, and many months worth of discussion with a local contractor, a local business called Allied Concrete and Drilling. And they were the ones that were involved. So it took their time, but they also had to be willing to teach youth, because our plan was then to teach youth how to get a skill that would be a family wage job. And there's no one around here right now that's teaching anything like concrete construction to move that direction. So this was the first time there was a partnership. And then us as Community Services Consortium, we would work with our youth, and we would then pay for our time, and then the youth getting paid to do this. So that's really how it works. Before I came, there was a program here, and there had been a sidewalk project, and that's why everyone was like, we need this, we want this, but it took us this year. And so without me talking much more, we want to play the video. Who you have is me right now, and then Josh, because I technically, if I touch something, I break it. I just need you all to know. So Josh is going to help make sure that we can show you the video, and then I'll move around and let Jamaica, one of the youth, there were 4 youth that were involved, a total of 5, and then she's going to at least be willing to tell you what she learned and answer any of your questions, and then I'll come back around and just summarize. And we had one event in Mayor McCardle. We were blessed to have him there to have a picture and do the very first project on that. So Josh, I don't know if you are able to just start the video or if we need to switch over to have you do that.
No, I should be able to play
Got
it.
it? Okay.
So what we're going to play, this is comments by Nicole Rose, who was our crew leader and the person on site. Luckily, we had the forethought to record her comments for this evening, as she lives in Salem and would not have been able to make it. So I'll mute my mic and sorry, apparently that did not do what it was supposed to. Okay, let me restart. I apologize.
I think we started it, but I don't think we had any sound. So we're going to try and do both.
Yep. Come on. There we go.
is Nicole Rose. I am the youth crew leader and guarding teacher for Community Services Consortium. I manage the youth crew that is responsible for the site. As the industry expects them to, and have a finished product that they can feel proud of and have more education in their toolboxes for life. Many of these students that we serve come from vulnerable and fragile places in their lives. They come to Community Services Consortium as a last resort for a leg up in the world, to elevate their own lives, finishing their GEDs or getting their diplomas and gaining their first work experience. From entry to exit from CSC, their heads are held high and many accomplishments are at their feet as they dawn into their own independence and into the workforce as trained and productive community members. This is our shared dream coming true. These projects have both been challenging as well as rewarding. It has proven to be a win-win for all parties involved, as well as beautify this aging city. The win for the youth is elevating their own confidence. They rose to the challenge of learning a new trade. Whether they had sights on it or not, they rose to greet the challenge as it was presented. One student said she could never see herself picking up a power tool and using it. She had great fear of power tools, the sound, the foreign feeling of holding one, the perceived dangers in misusing it. She had no confidence in herself to perform the ability. By the end of the day, she not only learned how to use an impact drill, but also the packer machine to prep for concrete pouring, which if you know the machine that I speak of, it is no small feat to maneuver.
Yes, the audio is very low, unfortunately.
Well, we've been working on technical difficulties all day and I don't want to take your time. We're going to get you that video. And if you can play it again, Josh, that's fine. But I'm going to get out of the way so that I can put my mask back on and let Jamaica come in. What you got to see, there were 2 projects that were done here in Independence. And City of Independence and Willamette Workforce Partnership and ourselves and the contractors, it was pretty vital. But what we really wanted to show you is that the youth, what they learned was pretty amazing and skills that they wouldn't be able to get somewhere else. So the video itself is really great. It explains what workforce is. So we'll get you that because I don't want, you have to sit around and deal with technical stuff. So I'm going to get out of the way so Jamaica can come over. She's going to share with you 3 things that she learned, and then we're just going to be available for questions. Okay.
Good evening and welcome.
Hi, thank you. So I guess I will start. So there's a lot of things that I honestly learned going through this project, and it was a lot, and I wasn't expecting to go through and learn as much as I did. But I did learn that it's a lot harder than it actually looks. When you drive by and you see people doing construction, you're like, that looks like something someone could do. And I was very mistaken. But it's a lot more strenuous and a lot more hard work than I personally realized. And construction and laying concrete and doing stuff like that was something that growing up I looked at as a possibility as a job because I grew up with a lot of family that did it. My stepdad did it, my mom did it, my grandpa did it, and it was just something I was very used to being around. And this has helped me decide that I think college is probably a better route for me. But I also did learn that it's quite rewarding because just about every day I get to drive by one of the areas that we did one of the projects at in front of the church. I can't remember the name at the moment, but I will look at it every single time. I'm like, I did that. That was something that I was able to do. And it's hard not to point it out to people when they're with me. I'm like, I did that. I'm so excited about it because, there's not a lot of people, especially my age, that get to drive through town and be like, I helped do that. I helped repair this part of our town. And it brings me a lot of pride to be able to actually say that and to actually understand how much these people really go through. They do a lot of hard work, and it gives me a newfound respect for them that the equipment. So I have a fear of power tools because when I was younger, my stepdad had a nail ricochet back at him, and he got injured and had to go to the hospital. So from then on, I was slightly terrified of them, and I did not want to touch any of them. And it kind of took a little coercing, but they ended up getting me to use a power tool, and I ended up using, what is it called? It's a packer machine. It helps like smooth out gravel before you actually lay the concrete down so that you have a nice smooth base. And I never thought I would touch something like that in my life. I was shaking because I was scared, but I was reassured, and everyone's like, we're right here. If you can't do it, just let us know. But I ended up doing it, and it actually ended up being a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And it takes a lot more than I ever thought that it would take. And yeah, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them.
Thank you. Really appreciate you hearing your comments, and congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, I'll come back.
Okay,
Maps back on.
I'm gonna do that and get out your way, Mona. Cover my face.
All right, so since we're both in here now, can you all hear me with this beautiful mask on? Perfect. So we didn't talk about, all the intricacies. I think the video does a pretty good job, but the city was such an amazing partner. And it's our plan. Then we've had at least 9 cities that want to replicate this. And it's like a win-win for everyone. We have issues in our city with sidewalks, and we want to teach our workforce, and we have a workforce to do that. So it was like a win. It was like pulling all the partners together to do something. And in the year of COVID, we were shocked that we could still do it. I think everybody couldn't believe that we did do it. It was harder for the business contractor, believe me. We warned everyone that he would really struggle keeping his mask on, but for our youth to do that and keep doing that, but even through COVID, to walk away and have youth go, I did that, and help that. We have one of them that believes they're going to continue in this field and work with that business owner. And we had one then decided and applied locally, and now is working full-time today. He was just hired full-time at Marquee Spas. So out of that crew, some amazing skills came out of that, and you were a big part of it. So and then I'll finish with that. I didn't introduce Josh. Sometime you'll be able to hear Nicole. She was the crew leader that was with them all the time. And then Josh is our tech teacher, and he has the makerspace and the Streamlab, and it is still open to the community. So Josh is the one that does the tech stuff. And so it's funny that we had technical problems, but anyway, that's our team. And if you don't have any questions, we'll get out of your way, but we just can't thank you enough. And it's our intention to continue this partnership with the City of Independence, and start up again when the weather's better. And also you're the pilot project to replicate it in other cities.
Are there questions for the presenter?
We-
Well, thank you, Mona, and your whole team. You folks have done some wonderful things. Young people are learning skills. Local residents are getting sidewalks done. Everybody's coming out a winner, and this is great. And I'm glad that you're able to help us. And it's so encouraging to hear that there are 9 other cities that want to do the same thing that you folks are doing. So thank you so much for all that you folks are all doing.
Thank you.
Okay. I am looking at our city recorder, and do I have any other people out there that needed to make public comment? So there's no one there, so we're going to continue moving. We're going down to reports and presentations, and I'll just briefly mention that I continue working on the Highway 22 and 51, meeting with a number of cities and county folks to continue that moving forward. I want to remind people of the Willamette Valley Council of Governments annual awards event, 6 p.m. on February 17th. Karen can help you register. And I will be participating along with other mayors and leaders from around the state in the League of Oregon Cities City Day at the Capitol, although we won't be actually at the Capitol. It'll be a virtual event. We'll be meeting with legislative leadership and moving forward on the League's agendas, sticking up for cities and helping them understand issues related to cities. That's what my report is at this point. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Pessimir for his city manager report. Mr. Pessimir.
So thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't have a lot tonight, but a few things. First off, February 6th, that is not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, there will be a priority setting meeting. It'll be an all-day meeting to basically outline what council's priorities are for 2021. It will be kind of building off of the Vision 2040 plan, as well as talking about some of the activities that have been going on for COVID and recovery. But it will be an exercise to allow you to be able to kind of come up with a list of priorities so we can make sure that we're meeting council's expectations for the year coming up. It will be facilitated by Libby Baki-Bard, who did our 2040 vision plan. So it would be good to bring her back and kind of give council a review of the items in the 2040 vision plan. So we'll be sharing information with you all before the meeting, but I wanted to make sure that you guys all were aware of that and that the public was aware that we're going to be having the meeting here in just a short period of time. I wanted to let you know that the city, through our CERT program, is going to be helping Salem Health with vaccinations at Western Oregon University. That's something that we just got put together here over the last few days, but they've reached out to the CERT program to help do that work. There may be some more city volunteers that help out depending on the duration and the need. We have some cadets who potentially could help out as well. CERT isn't a fully recognized entity, so the city, they're going to be doing this under the city's umbrella. And so I just want to let you know that we're going to be helping with that. I also found out today through some of the conversations that if you want to get information on the vaccine, probably the best place to do that right now is to go to the salemhealth.org website. They have been working on getting a Polk County specific information up and working hard on that even today. But there is really good information up there as who's eligible to get the vaccine, how you would sign up for that if you are eligible and qualify to get it. So that is a great place. We just found out about that, but we'll be pushing some information out just to make sure, because I went up there today and it was really very well done. Obviously, there are still some technical issues that people need to work through, especially getting a MyChart account set up and those things. So those are things that they're still trying to work through. But if you want information and want information that will be changing as more groups are allowed to be eligible, that is really a great place to go. As you all know, it snowed today and snowed more than expected. And our Public Works Department, I think, was a little surprised by that. And so they are working hard on sanding and plowing. They are still looking to see where there are other areas, and the police department's going to be out and giving them information if there's places that need more work. But you know, I think they're asking, and I think it would just make common sense that if you can stay home while you can, because there's definitely a lot of slick areas out there, and that was definitely more snow than was anticipated. And just one last little thing, I just want to let you know that I did sign a document today for the reissuance of Minnet bond debt for the city of Monmouth. You probably remember, or if you're new counselors, maybe you don't, but about a year ago, we refunded some of the Minnet bonds, and that was something the City of Independence did, and now Monmouth is essentially doing the same thing. So that basically, with the low interest rates, allows the debt to go down and the payments to be less over a period of time. So with that, if you have questions for me or my staff, I'm here to take those.
Okay. We're going to continue forward. We're going to take the council liaison reports a little bit out of order, so that because we have a couple of our new counselors, or this would be their first thing. So we're going to let Councillor Coor kick off with the Independence Days Commission, then followed by Historic Preservation with Councillor Job, and finishing up with Traffic Safety with Councillor Roden. So Councillor Coor, would you like to do an Independence Days report?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. The Independence Days Commission met on the 14th of January. The primary objective of that meeting was try to determine what is Independence Days 2021 going to look like so that we can start planning. We decided to forego the block party scenario that we did last year and decided instead to focus on fireworks only. The intent is to have 2 nights of fireworks, a similar setup to what the city did with drive-in movies. Cars will be allowed in, they'll be appropriately distanced if we're still under that kind of guidance at the time. Location to be determined, but hopefully someplace where people can see it from a variety of places. Doing the 2 nights, hopefully we'll get everybody who is interested in coming out an opportunity to do so. That'll have to be done by lottery or some sort of pre-sale function. We haven't figured that out yet. But we're also looking at talking to Ida, Courtney, the Chamber of Commerce, about restaurants putting together maybe a special menu for Independence Days and having dinner boxes that people can pick up and take out to wherever they're going to be viewing the fireworks. The plans are still very, very vague, unfortunately, at this point. Like I said, the primary purpose of the meeting was to make that key decision. There was a lot of discussion about it. The block parties, although I thought were quite successful last year, were an enormous amount of work for the very few people that are engaged in this effort. And we just lost a key person on the commission, Lisa Cox, who owns Same As It Never Was. She needs to concentrate on her business, understandably, but she and the commission chair are 2 of the biggest workers in this effort. So knowing that we weren't going to have Lisa, that's a decision we made, and hopefully we'll have some more information coming out shortly. Tom, Janice is going to reach out to you if she hasn't already and talk to you about some particulars. But I think it's a good plan. I think people are really kind of starved for fireworks, and hopefully we can do something really nice. That's all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councillor Job, I don't even know if you've had a Historic Preservation Commission meeting yet. So if there are things to report, we'd love to hear.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a meeting on January 20th. And out of that meeting, Jennifer Flores was nominated and appointed as the vice chair. They are working on their plans for 2021, but I don't have an outline for, kind of what they wanted to have take place in 2021. There's a CLG grant coming up that they were discussing, and something that's going to come to City Council is the demolition by neglect that they're talking about with the historic properties. They're all coming up with lists for Fred and presenting those to him, and then they're going to talk about kind of what to do with some of the historic properties that are needing some assistance. And then they're also working on a preservation award for the historic properties. And I can't remember the name. I didn't write it down for the award, but they're wanting to do one for 2020. So that should be coming up pretty quickly. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you very much. So let's go to Councillor Roden. Did you folks have a traffic safety meeting yet?
We have not had a traffic safety meeting. Our next meeting is February 17th at 6 p.m. And at that meeting, I think we're going to go over code 32-156 that we went over in the last city council meeting that we're just going to review and look over. I did try to reach out to some of the members of the commission, but unfortunately one of them is under quarantine, and so just wish him and his family the best, and I look forward to our meeting, and hopefully everybody's healthy and can attend it on the 17th.
Great, thank you very much.
Mayor,
please do.
I actually, when I was still council liaison, I did attend the December 16th meeting. We did do something that was kind of fun. We got to get a first sneak peek at the F Street Bridge possible designs, especially considering the railing and the lighting. Just kind of initial conversation and talking about some possibilities. I think we need to get a lot more information. I'm sure they'll be talking about it a lot more. And I believe there's going to be some public input down the road somewhere on that too. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that is going on with the Traffic Safety Commission.
Great, thank you for that overlap. Appreciate it. Okay, continuing us moving forward, I'm going to take things a little out of order. We're going to go to 7.2. I just need to announce that the public hearing on LA 2020-05 amending development Code floodplain development. The hearing is postponed to a date and time certain of February 9th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. So that's all I need to announce there. Now we're going to go to the public hearing on LA 2020-04, amending the Independence Development Code and Industrial Codes. I have a state required script I'm supposed to read, and so I will now do that. This evening, we'll have a public hearing on Legislative Amendment 2020-04 to consider amendments to the Independence Development Code reorganization of industrial standards. The City Council will make a final decision based on the complete record, including the testimony received at tonight's public hearing. These proceedings are being recorded. This hearing will be held in accordance with the land use procedures required by the city and the state of Oregon. This is a type 4 legislative procedure. At the beginning of the public hearing tonight, staff will identify the applicable substantive criteria from the city's comprehensive plan and/or the state of Oregon statewide planning goals. For anybody wishing to speak, they're asked to use the speaker card that are provided. When called upon to speak, they must be recognized by yours truly and must state name and address for the public record. Before we begin, does any counselor wish to declare an actual or potential conflict of interest in this matter? Seeing nobody waving their hands, we will continue. I am now going to open the hearing for LA 2020-04 Development Code Amendment and Reorganization of Industrial Standards. Can we now have staff make their presentation? Mr. Evander, good evening.
Hi there, how are you doing? It's good to be here. Hi there, Council. Fred Evander, Community Planner here at the City of Independence, here to present on Legislative Amendment 2020-04. Now, what is this all about? Basically, the goal of this amendment is the Planning Commission and city staff have been working to make our development code generally easier to use. As part of that, we've been going through each of the zones and using things like matrices to summarize allowed uses and things like setbacks in the zones and that sort of stuff. We've also just been sort of reorganizing the code to try and make it easier for folks to actually find what they're trying to see and less duplicative. So if something gets changed one place, we don't have to change it every place. So basically that's what we've been doing. We went through the residential code and the council adopted that probably 2 years ago. We went through the commercial code and it was not 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. We went through the commercial code, adopted that maybe a year ago. And then now this is really sort of the last set of zones, the industrial zones in the City of Independence. Now we have 3 industrial zones, and it would have been smart of me to include a zoning map in your packet. I apologize that I didn't, but we have 3 zones that are primarily up in the Stryker Road area, just north of Polk Street or Hoffman. Those 3 zones are light industrial, heavy industrial, and industrial park. And when you look at the code, they are all extremely similar zones. In fact, I mean, you really had to look at them very hard to understand what the difference between the zones were. Sort of recognizing that, we thought, hey, there's a lot of duplication here. We can get rid of a whole bunch of redundancies. We can make this a whole lot simpler for people to look at and see what the differences are, see what is allowed, what the standards are. And so that's really what we tried to do as part of this. Now, Karen, could you perhaps project the markup version of the code for me? And Jason might need to allow her to do that. So basically what we did was we took each of the sections have a long list of allowed uses. we took all of those allowed uses and put them in one place. So you can see it's a new subchapter 37. Basically, this is a summary of all the allowed uses within each of the 3 zones. We felt like this was a far simpler way to present the information. Continue scrolling down, Karen. Oh dear. Can you scroll down, Karen? Basically, on subsequent pages, like on page, if you have, okay, so on subsequent pages, like scroll up just a little, Karen, the page above this, you'll see that we grouped the setbacks for the various uses in one matrix. So you can see that here. You can see the differences in the lot areas that are allowed within the 3 zones. You can see that here. Continue down one more there, Karen. And then we grouped all 3 of the zone's industrial performance standards. This language was completely the same in each of the 3 zones. We felt like rather than including it 3 times, why don't we just include it once and then reference to that one spot? It makes everything a whole lot simpler for folks to understand. Also, if for some reason we want to change these standards in the future, we can change it once rather than 3 times. That's essentially the goal. Just a simpler code, simpler to understand. Also, continue down then, Karen. So you can see the implications of that is this whole permitted use section becomes a whole lot simpler, right? In 40-10, we can just say permitted uses are the uses allowed in the matrix, and we point to the matrix with that code reference there, and then we take all of this list and we just move them over there. So that's basically what this code is doing. The ultimate result you'll see in your packet is just makes this section 40, 41, the subchapter 40, 41, and 42 just a whole lot simpler to read and understand what exactly is going on within these zones. Also, you'll note that the special use limitations for marijuana facilities, again, it's basically exactly the same in each of the zones. There's one slight difference with one of the zones, but that's just because a certain marijuana use isn't allowed within one of the zones. I want to say it's, I can't quite remember, but if you looked at the use chart, it says that it's not allowed within one of the zones. Based on that, we took these marijuana standards and we just put them in one spot, and then they'll apply to all 3 areas. Again, the goal there, again, is if we ever decide, hey, you know what, we want to change the marijuana standards for industrial facilities, we don't have to change it 3 times. We can just do it once. So basically, it's trying to simplify the code. It's trying to make things easier for residents to understand and the Planning Commission to use and us as staff to use, also applicants to navigate. So that's really the goal here. Are there any questions about that?
Questions for the presenter?
I do.
Please, Councilor Kaur.
Fred, you've done a ton of work on this and I appreciate that. Have you gotten any feedback from people who need to use this code if these changes have made their lives easier?
You know, it's funny because I used to get a whole lot more questions about specifically help navigating the code, and I'm getting a whole lot less of those questions. Instead, I get a whole lot more people calling and say, hey, I see that this is allowed in this zone. I'm curious, can, you know, what, so that folks are getting to the point where they feel more comfortable with the code. And that's really what we want. We want people to understand what the rules are without having us to try and navigate them through it, you know. Yeah.
Additional questions?
I had one question about notification about the hearing. How was notification given out to the public?
Great. Thank you for that question. And I should have mentioned it within my staff report. We did send notice of this out. We published it in the newspaper. It's been on our website for several months at this point. We also let a couple of the industrial property owners know that this change was going on. So we have provided the notice necessary for it. We did issue the notice prior to our Planning Commission meeting on December 7th. We said specifically that there was going to be 2 public hearings on it. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on it. We didn't receive any comments specifically about it. And part of the reason for it is we're not really changing any of the standards. The standards are primarily the same. It's the organization that's different. So I think people realize that and can kind of see how things are largely the same as within these changes. So
Thank you, Fred. That's great.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate the fact that you and the Planning Commission have gone through this and that they approved this, and also that making it easier, more user-friendly. I appreciate that effort, and thank you for reiterating that there's no substantive changes here. This is organization, not substance.
right, exactly.
Are there additional questions? Okay, is there anybody that has any public testimony to make? Karen, is there anybody out there to make there is no one out there. Okay, without objection, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. We now are moving into the, we can take action now. We're down to Council Bill 2021-02, amending the Independence Development Code. Karen, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, at this point, the council will need to approve the legislative amendment as recommended by the Planning Commission and with findings as recommended in the staff report.
Thank you. We need to do that first before we move on to the next one. I jumped ahead. Excuse me. Thank you so much for keeping me on point. If someone would like to initiate action, that would be appreciated.
A suggested motion would be to move to approve legislative amendment 2020-04 as recommended by the Planning Commission and with findings as recommended in the staff report.
I would like to make that motion based on what our city recorder just said.
Thank you. I have it in my script.
You're allowed to do that. I'll second that.
All right, Councilor Morton moved, Councilor Take a second. Is there discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we can move on to Council Bill 2021-02, amending the Independence Development and Industrial Code. Since we've approved that, we can now move on to the next part, which is on page 15. If anybody would, unless there's a need for discussion, if anybody would like to make a motion, and let me explain this for a second, since this is the first time for some folks. When we make when we're doing an ordinance, the ordinance, the charter requires that we do a couple of readings of an ordinance, but we can do it in one meeting if it's a unanimous type of activity. So the motions provided by our city attorney are such that if we go through those, we can do it in one meeting. If there was dissent, we would have to break that up and do it in our next meeting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Fair characterization? Okay. If someone would like to suggest action.
Sure, I'll go. I move to read the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2021-02 in full as the text is contained in the council packet for the first time.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second by Councilor Core. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Hearing no opposition, motion carries.
An ordinance adding subchapter 37, allowed uses in industrial zones, subchapter 38, density, area, and dimension requirements in industrial zones, subchapter 39, industrial performance standard, and subchapter 45, standards for marijuana facilities in industrial zones, amending subchapter 40, light industrial zone, subchapter 41, heavy industrial zone, and subchapter 42, industrial park, and declaring an effective date.
Thank you. If the second motion, please.
I move to read the proposed ordinance Council Bill 2021-02 for the second time by the title only.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second by Counselor Morton. Is there discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Is there any opposition? Hearing no opposition, motion carries.
An ordinance adding subchapter 37, allowed uses in industrial zones, subchapter 38, density, area, and dimension requirements in industrial zones, subchapter 39, industrial performance standard, and subchapter 45, standards for marijuana facilities in industrial zones, amending subchapter 40, light industrial zone, subchapter 41, heavy industrial zone, and subchapter 42, industrial park, and declaring an effective date.
Thank you very much. Our third and final motion, please.
I move to adopt the proposed ordinance Council Bill number 2021-02.
I have a motion,
I second it.
and that was Counselor Job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there discussion? And I just want to say this is, for routine things, this is how we just move things along promptly and get things done. Okay, hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Hearing no opposition, all motion carries. Thank you very much.
The bill has passed and is assigned ordinance number 1586.
Great. Council announcements. Anybody have any announcements they need to make at this point?
Yes, I do.
Please do.
I would like, you're laughing, Kathy. I would like to announce that effective the end of this week, I will be retiring from Minet. I am the company's very first retiree, and I will be available to them on a consulting basis for a little while, but it's been quite the effort to get everything moved into other arenas. And the best thing that I can say about this is the reason I'm retiring is because the company doesn't really need me anymore, which speaks volumes about how well it's being run and how much of the broken parts aren't broken anymore. And just as a side note, I'm going out with the knowledge that in the next payment due for debt service, Minet is picking up 100% of the tab.
Great. Thank you. Yay. Okay. I don't see anybody else flagging me for announcements. If somebody would like to send us home to dinner.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed. Have a pleasant evening. Stay safe. Drive slow. Wear a mask. Thank you.